This is a selection of the many drivers we have at the Isaacson School Prototype Lab. They fall into several categories. The one you're probably most familiar with is the standard flathead screwdriver. It's called a flathead because the blade at the end is a simple flat blade. This fits slot-headed screws. They come in different sizes, they come in different lengths. Sometimes you have the same size head and multiple lengths of handles. The longer handle is used if you need to get more torque, more force on the turn, or if you're trying to reach a smaller area. But typically, the shorter the screwdriver, the smaller the head. These come in widths like 5/16, 3/16, 1/8 of an inch. They go down to very, very small. The second primary category is what's called a Phillips head. If you look at the head of a Phillips, it looks like an X in cross-section. These also come in different sizes. But unlike flatheads, which are referred to in inch scale, these are numbered, number 2, number 1, 0, etc. The larger the number, the larger the head. The heads not only can vary by number size, but the actual shape, the angle of the triangle at the end, can also change. So you want to match the screwdriver to the screw that you're driving. The third category is called a Torx, or a T driver. These are also numbered, T30, T20, T25, T15, and this is a T6. These are in cross-section are a 6-pointed star. Now there are lots of different types of star drivers. They're not all 6 points or 5 points or 8 points. Torx is the most common, and that's the one that we have quite a few of. Torx screws and square drivers, our fourth category here, were developed for a couple of reasons. Torx screws are particularly commonplace in technology products. One of the reasons they initially used them is to make it more difficult for users to service the equipment themselves. It was hard to crack the computer case if you didn't have the tools to do it, and it kept amateurs from messing up their equipment. But now Torx drivers are widely available. One of the benefits they have over flatheads and Phillips is they drive more securely. You can put more force on the Torx driver without it stripping out of the screw. The same with the square driver. Well, why are there so many different kinds, and why do they have names? Like, what does Phillips have to do with this X head? Well, at one point, these were all patented, protected designs. A guy named Phillips patented this one. A guy named, I think it was Harris in Canada, patented the square driver. Same with the Torx driver. So different companies, so they didn't have to pay the licensing fee, developed their own shapes. And now they're all fairly common across the spectrum. The square drivers also come in number designations. S3, multiple sizes down, this is an S0. These are all screwdriver handled style. But that's not the only style of driver. This is a T driver. And with a T driver, sometimes they have specific tips on the end, but you can also get driver bit sets and you can change them to whatever type of driver that you want. There's an important distinction though between a driver bit that is intended to be driven by hand with some sort of hand device, whether it's a T handle or a screw handle. There's a big difference between that and a bit that's intended to be driven by a powered device. When you're using a powered driver, it's very important that you have it on the correct setting. This is the drill setting for this drill. That's way too fast to use as a driver. You turn it to one of these numbers. The higher the number, the more force of torque the driver is going to accept before it stops. You want to use really low numbers for soft materials like plastics, and higher numbers when you need more force, more torque behind the drive. But you never, ever use a driver bit when it's on the drill settings. Impact bits, power tool specific bits, are harder steel than the bits that are intended to be driven by hand. Yes, you could put one of these bits into this driver, but it's a soft metal and it's going to ruin the tip. It's probably going to ruin the head of your screw as well. So if you're going to use a powered device, make sure you're using bits, what are called impact bits, that are designed for that powered use. We have this funky screwdriver type. It's a flathead on one end, a Phillips on the other. These are two different sizes. There's a number 2 and a number 1 Phillips. And these are used to get into small, awkward areas They can also be handy when you're working on simple things like electronics cases. All of these drivers can easily be misused as a pry bar. Typically, you take a flathead screwdriver and use it to pry something up. That is not the way they're to be used. We have specific devices that are intended for that use. They're called pry bars. These are just two of our pry bars. We have multiple sizes of pry bars. Never pry with a screwdriver. Always use a pry bar. And one last element is all of these driver styles are also available in micro sizes, much smaller sizes, and these are very common when you get to electronic components.